Hi everyone, it's Emily, and today is the very first video that I am filming in my new apartment. So everything's just pure chaos over there. There's just stacks and stacks of boxes, and I'm waiting for my shelving units to arrive this week. I ordered a few to kind of see how they go, and then I'm just planning to order a few more if they work out. Like I'm hoping they will. So this is very exciting for me because I haven't had a proper display for my collections in quite a while. So I'm really looking forward to finally displaying things how I have envisioned for so long. Now in terms of February pickups, this was the month that I kind of went full hog on a few different Grail items that I really wanted in my personal collection. So this is more of a self-indulgent pickups video, so please bear with me a little bit here, but I have some really exciting things that I'm really happy to finally have in my collection. So before diving into all my Grail items, I did pick up a new release, and that is Octopath Traveler 2 for the Switch. Now normally I tend to avoid picking up a lot of new releases unless I intend to play them day one. And as you see here, this game is still sealed. And that's for a number of reasons. The first reason why I decided to pre-order this is because I wanted this beautiful steelbook from Best Buy. Really lovely on the exterior as well as the interior. So I really couldn't resist getting the steelbook. And I'm also really happy at the positive reception this game has gotten so far. So those unfamiliar with Octopath Traveler, this is a JRPG from Square Enix that brings back the classic turn-based system that we've seen in a lot of the original Final Fantasy and Bravely Default. And so this kind of harkens back to that play style. Now I haven't finished the first game. I kind of just barely touched the surface before I set it down. So part of me still wants to go back and complete that game before getting to the sequel here, because I do hear the sequel has a lot of quality of life improvements and they did a better job at connecting the stories together. And overall, I've just been hearing how much of an upgrade the second game is compared to the first. But I do intend to play this sometime this year. I'm really hoping to actually play this on an OLED, so I'm still kind of holding out for the Tears of the Kingdom OLED to release, because I hear just how beautiful this HD 2D just looks on the OLED screen. But yeah, let me know if you guys have picked up Octopath Traveler 2 and have started it, and whether or not you think I should go back and play the first one before stepping into the sequel. Now quickly, before I dive into all the Grails and splurges I made last month, I did pick up a visual novel that I'm really happy to have in my collection finally. That is Brute Letter Last Answer. So this edition of the game has an exclusive live action drama version, where you have Japanese actors acting out the different scenes in the visual novel. So part of me is not sure how I feel about this actually, since I'm not really one who enjoys a lot of live action, especially if it's based off of an anime or something like that, but it does have me very curious. So I don't really see myself playing through all the different live action sequences, but I might dive in a little bit because I'm curious how it looks on and plays on the Switch. So similar to all the other Roots visual novels that P-Cube has published, this one involves a murder investigation, this time involving a long-lost pen pal, where the main character goes to her hometown and interviews and does her own investigation to see who and how she was murdered. So I'm glad to finally add this title to my visual novel collection. And I'm actually planning to do a visual novel buying guide for the Switch sometime soon. It's either going to be at the end of this month or sometime next month, but hopefully that'll be fun for those who also enjoy visual novels. All right, so now into all the Grails and splurges I made last month. So I mentioned this one in my last video, but I finally bought my favorite childhood game. That is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past on the Game Boy Advance. So I did a full unboxing of this guy and kind of talked about some of my nostalgic memories for this game, and how it ties to me getting back into gaming with the sequel of sorts on the 3DS. So I'm not really planning on buying a bunch of complete in-box Game Boy games moving forward. I made an exception for this one because it is on the lower end when it comes to the more, I guess, desirable Game Boy games that are complete in box. I got this for under $100, which I thought was a great deal, especially considering the condition of the box. But I do intend to buy more game carts for the Game Boy systems, because I did end up buying an analog pocket, as I mentioned in the last video. So that's also why I bought Pokemon Silver here, which was one of my first Game Boy Color games. when I was a child. So this is my first and still my favorite Pokemon era, and I'm really happy to finally reacquire it in my collection. I would love to get the Soul Silver version that's on the DS at some point, but as many of you know, that's really expensive just for the case and the cart. It's like around the $150 price range, and there's so many fakes out there in circulation that I've been really hesitant to pull the trigger on it, honestly. Maybe one of these days I'll finally do so, but for now, I'm really happy to have the original Game Boy Color version. And then next, may not come as a surprise to many of you who've watched my previous videos, but I finally got a hold of the Professor Layton and the Azran Legacy 3DS game. After the Nintendo Direct, where they revealed Level 5 bringing a new Professor Layton game to the Switch, Azran Legacy, I think along with some of the other Layton games, just shot up in price. So I did end up paying a pretty penny for a used copy, unfortunately. I had a lot of Amazon credits, so it was a way to, I guess, justify the ridiculously high price that I had to pay. I think it didn't even come with, the little insert here, since it just didn't really come with a manual. But I'm happy I finally own all the Professor Layton games, so I could see myself doing some sort of binge of all the DS and 3DS games before Professor Layton and the World of Steam comes out. And I guess as a little PSA, this game, along with Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask and Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, they all actually have free DLC that you could download. That'll be available before the eShop closes on March 27th. So my goal for these next couple weeks is to steamroll through all of the Professor Layton 3DS games, just to make sure I get all the free DLC that's available. Azran Legacy and the Miracle Mask both have free DLC that are kind of like daily puzzles. So I haven't really tested this out yet. I plan to do so after this video to see how that free DLC works. But the Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright game has free DLC after you beat the game. I might try to prioritize that one first before I get into these. But this game was my last big splurge on the 3DS. And now I'm planning just to buy a few games on the eShop before it closes. And I might try to, down the line, get some of the cheaper games that either came with World Editions or also titles that I know will remain fairly cheap, like, for example, Codename Steam, which has been hovering around $5 to $10 for the last few years, and I imagine will continue doing so after the eShop closes. Now, last but certainly not least, this was my big splurge this month, and that is the collector's edition for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I'm so happy that I finally have this holy grail in my collection. Now, I mentioned this particular collector's edition as one of my grails that I've wanted for my collection for quite some time. I've been really kicking myself for not buying it when it was still readily available and even discounted, thinking that I could buy it later. And as many of you know, Mithra and Pyra were announced for Smash, and prices just skyrocketed for both the collector's edition and the standard edition of the game. And so I got this for, I think, a pretty good price used, and it comes with everything, and the photo book and soundtrack are actually all still sealed. So I'm gonna open this up with you guys and end this video off. I'm just going through a very self-indulgent flip through of the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Collector's Edition. So first up, let's slide everything out. And this is a very simple Collector's Edition, similar to the other Xenoblade Collector's Editions, except in addition to the hardcover photo book that's been coming in the North American editions, it comes with the steelbook here, and it also comes with the game, but I actually check it out. I'm undecided whether or not I should sell the first print copy of the game, because the standard edition I own actually has the most recent revised cart that I really want to keep. So I'm a little conflicted whether or not to recoup a little bit of what I paid for this by selling the cart that came in this edition, or just to hold on to it to have the initial print run of this. And then the soundtrack. So I recently purchased the full 5-disc Xenoblade Chronicles 2 soundtrack, and so this is just a sample. Regardless, I'm still happy to have this in my hands. And I'm still a little salty that they didn't include a sample soundtrack for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but hopefully they'll sell the full soundtrack for that sometime soon. Now, onto the photo book. I'll be sure to censor any sort of spoilers for those who haven't played this game yet. Start with a little preface and get into some of the character designs. And I know Xenoblade Chronicles 2 gets a lot of flack for some of the design choices on the character models, but I honestly really enjoy most of the character designs. I think the designs do a really good job at encompassing a lot of these characters' personalities, and they just look like really unique characters. And this is really nice seeing all the sketched versions and the realized model. And it's remarkable how thorough this is, covering so many different characters and scenes. And looks like getting into the enemy section and all the titans. And I always thought it was just so neat how you have all these worlds that are on these titans' backs that are just floating in the sky. It's just the scale of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is still, I think, remarkable in terms of game design for me. All these sketches of the locations and it's like watercolors, so cool. And I think one of the things I did miss in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is that there wasn't a way to upgrade weapon. Combat there was more about upgrading accessories and I guess level. But I did like how in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 you got to customize more of the weapon and the different blades you got to use. Little objects and furniture. And this was a very lovely photo book. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 also has another photo book. It's I think the arts work that I think has more of the blade designs as well as a lot of the DLC elements like from Torna in a photo book. So it'll be interesting to see how different that is compared to what came in the collector's edition here. So those were all the games that I picked up in February. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and my rather self-indulgent splurges. And before ending here, I thought it'd be appropriate to talk about wish lists and grails and other things that come up on this channel. So after talking about some of my wish lists and grails on previous videos, I've had quite a number of people reach out. And because I talked about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Collector's Edition here so much, I had quite a few responses regarding this title in particular. Now, I really do appreciate it when many of you reach out to me with generous offers of selling something at MSRP or lining up some sort of trade deal with me. I really can't thank you guys enough for thinking about me and my collections. However, it has put me at a sort of awkward position that I think I should be mentioning now. What's really nice about being on this platform is I feel really comfortable talking about wish lists and other relatable things that many of us collectors go through. But it's also put me at a rather awkward position in doing so, I found, with receiving a lot of DMs and offers when it comes to selling or doing really generous trade lineups, which I genuinely really appreciate how thoughtful and kind many of you are. So at this time, I've decided not to open a PO box or things like that, because I think it just puts me at again, an awkward position, being able to talk so freely with you guys about these things without coming across as having ulterior motives in doing so. Maybe in the future, I'll be able to open a PO box comfortably, but I think at this time, it's probably best that I don't want to end on a sour note. So I do want to say that I do plan to still open up a Discord channel. It's still in the works. I'm trying to navigate how I want to go about moderation, given the fast growth of this channel, and how to just create a nice, safe environment for like-minded collectors and people who appreciate video games just to come and chill. So I'm still working on that. I'm hoping to have it up and running by the time I'm kind of settled more in my new apartment, and I could just make sure that it's ready to go before I launch. But in the meantime, I'm still very active on Twitter, and I've been trying to be more active on Instagram with posting on there. So if you guys would like to see more of me or interact with me on those platforms, please feel free to do so. And I have a lot of exciting videos lined up for this month that I'm looking forward to sharing with you all. So until then, bye guys.